Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Kate Hadamio from Mom Life Fitness and Ketogenic Living 101. You guys, I am so excited today to have an interview with Leanne Vogel from the Healthful Pursuit. And I know that the Healthful Pursuit, and I know you guys all probably already know who she is. She is a holistic nutritionist, a keto enthusiast, host of the Keto Diet Podcast, and author of several books, including The Keto Beginning, FatFueled, and her new release, The Keto Diet, which is coming out on April 11th. It's currently available on pre-sale, and you know I am on that list.
It's so great.
Yay! I first found Leanne when I adopted the ketogenic lifestyle and began searching for recipes. Hers are incredible. And my clients and I have loved cooking our way through them. They're so easy to follow, but more importantly, they are totally delicious and perfect for those of us that are eating low carb, moderate protein, high healthy fats. So what caught my attention was first Leanne's recipes and how she makes keto so simple and so delicious to follow. But what made me fall in professional love with her is how open and honest and real she's been about her own struggles and approach on self-love. She wrote an article about loving her body exactly the way it is and how that created freedom in her life from dieting, self-doubt, and yes, even from tracking some macros. As Leanne says, her mission is to live in a world where every woman loves her body, nourishing fats are enjoyed at every meal, and the word restriction isn't even in the dictionary. Oh, Leanne, thank you so very much for joining me today. And I would love to start just in the beginning with you telling our audience about your personal background in nutrition, your past struggles with body image, and how you found the ketogenic lifestyle.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Kate. This is awesome. And that was a beautiful introduction. Oh my gosh, I'm blushing. So I studied nutrition in 2007, and it was really sort of like a last-ditch effort of overcoming an eating disorder. At the time, I had come from anorexia. I had recovered from anorexia, but I had developed this like orthorexic, bulimic thing. And so I remember sitting and eating. I was probably about 20, I guess. Yeah, just before I turned 20. Oh my gosh, time flies, right?
Yeah, crazy.
But right before I turned 20, and I was eating broccoli, and I got a headache, and so I took the Tylenol, and the headache went away, and I was like, wait a minute. So I was eating broccoli, and then I took Tylenol, and the Tylenol stopped me from getting a headache. What did the broccoli do? And it was like this first time that I really connected, like what I was eating or not eating or binging and purging was actually affecting my health. Mm-hmm. And so I studied nutrition just as a way to kind of wrap my head around this health thing. And after I graduated, I had gone off birth control because I learned that it wasn't best for my body. Mm-hmm. I had learned that maybe vegan wasn't the way to go about things. So I was like kind of playing around with the thought of maybe not being vegan anymore. But after I went off birth control, I lost my period. And, you know, early 20s, it's like, no period. This is awesome. Yeah. Like, I can go swimming whenever I want. I don't have to worry about wearing white pants or not. Like, it was just great. But as time went on, I wasn't getting my period. I went to a couple doctors and they gave me some pills and it didn't work. And I was like, whatever. But then about 6 years after not getting a period, I had mostly recovered from disordered eating, but I was tracking everything. I was running every day. I was training. I was running in the morning. I was going for like a brisk walk at lunchtime, and then I'd go to CrossFit. And if I still had energy left, I would go to the gym after and cycle for 2 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Just insane. And so many people in my life at that point praised me for this activity of like, I can't believe you're doing all this. You're such a warrior. Like, you're working full time. You started up your own business. And it was just like, I didn't have any downtime and I didn't have any me time. I thought that this movement and this obsession around what was going in my body was a good thing. So I really got lost. Like, I studied holistic nutrition and I learned all these amazing things, and I picked apart what I wanted and kind of created my own world. And so when in, I guess it was 2000 and, you know, the years start to get messed up. So 2014, I believe. Yeah. We were getting married, and I had gone on hormone replacement therapy because it had been like 7 years since I had gotten a period. And I just said, you know what, like, I'm getting married. I'm still not having a period. So I went on hormone replacement therapy and I started gaining weight in just weird places. Like it wasn't a natural weight gain where you kind of just gain weight overall.
Yeah.
It was like under my neck and like the side of my hips, like these weird pockets on my hips. Like it was just strange. So I went to a naturopath and she said, why don't you try a low carb diet? And everything I had learned about a low carb diet was like, no, like that's really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you learn in school, like this is low carb is not safe. Your body needs carbs and you'll be eating Atkins bars every day for the rest of your life. So I ended up finding keto and kind of went down the rabbit hole with that. And initially keto was just like how I've been doing with everything else, like balls to the wall mentality. Like I'm going to go at this. I'm not going to listen to my body. I'm going to eat 1,000 calories a day. I'm going to eat less than 10 grams of carbs a day. And counting macros, tracking things. And that went on for about 6 months until the point where when I got up every time I was really dizzy, I was getting pins and needles all through my body all of the time. I couldn't work out. I couldn't go for walks. My hair was falling out. I wasn't sleeping. So I was watching my husband eat an Oreo cookie and we were in Mexico and I was just a hot mess. Like I was really, really messed up. And just watching him eat this cookie, I got so sad thinking like, I'll never be able to eat any cookies anymore, ever. Like my life is over and what am I doing? Like, why am I obsessing about this cookie? So it was a struggle because keto made me feel so good and it helped me lose the hormone weight gain. And, my brain was on fire. Like I could think so clearly. And as a person with ADHD, like to be able to use my brain at the full capacity, I mean, I hadn't had this in so long. And so I was frustrated because, my hair was falling out and I was having all these issues. But on the other hand, my brain felt so good. And there were other parts that felt so good. Yeah. And my weight finally had reduced from the hormone replacement therapy. And then over time, when I realized that I was maybe not doing well by my body, I developed what I now call the FatFueled Protocol. And that was really, I know ketosis works well in my body, but I need to eat enough and I need to stop forcing myself to fast. And I really need to start listening to my body. And eating enough carbs. That was another thing of just that low amount of carbs for what my initial goal was with keto was to get my hormones back, not to lose weight, not to count macros, not to hide in the pantry, counting out what I could have and not have. Not be sitting on the couch being like, oh my gosh, I only have 100 calories left for the day. I'm not hungry, but if I don't eat them now and I'm hungry tomorrow, it'll be because I didn't have these 100, like this craziness that goes on in our mind. And so I wanted to feel good. I wanted to stop being crazy around food. And so day by day, with each little meal, I would like prepare breakfast and not count it, but count everything else. And then go on to the next snack and count everything else, to the point where I stopped counting over about a period of 6 months. And I realized just how disordered my relationship with movement was. So I stopped everything. Like I stopped doing yoga. I stopped running. I stopped lifting. I stopped going to the gym. I stopped playing tennis. I stopped everything. And so for about 6 months, all I did was walk. Like when I felt like moving, I walked. And after 9 months of eating enough, I didn't fast. I stopped forcing myself for this movement. I started eating enough carbs, but still in ketosis. I ended up getting my period back after 9 months.
Oh my God, amazing.
Seriously. And then it's been a year and a half since I got my period back, and now I'm ovulating. And doctor said, like, Leanne, you will never ovulate. You will never get a period unless it's a forced period through medication. I was diagnosed with menopause when I was 24, and that was just the end of it.
Yeah.
So it transformed my life in all the right ways and really gave me the opportunity to see that last thing, like fat. I was always so afraid of fat. That was like the big thing. And to just finally be okay with eating fat was kind of like, okay, so now that I'm okay with eating fat, I can look at this acceptance on a whole piece. And it sounds so easy. Like when I say that, it's just like, yeah, then I just stopped counting calories. Yeah. It's the hardest thing. Like it's just about as hard as writing a book. Like it's just.
Absolutely. We get like so caught up in it. I even find like myself calculating in my head the carbs that I
that
can
never goes away
all day. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be like sitting making like I've just made dinner and I sit down and then I think in my head 952 and I'm like, shoot, did I just calculate out the calories without even thinking? Like it's just, and it happens. And I think it's just a matter of, for me, it's just repeating, no calculator can tell me what I need to nourish my body.
Exactly.
Period. Like
exactly.
Until there's like little things that can go into my bloodstream to tell me exactly what I need, I don't trust any sort of calculator to tell me what I need.
No, that's right. And the scale, I mean, like literally just measuring your relationship with gravity.
Yes.
Nothing else.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
That wasn't mine. Somebody actually quoted it and I can't remember who it was.
Relationship with gravity.
But I do know that it's only
gravity and I have a great relationship.
Yeah. I'm pretty good with gravity too.
I'm grounded.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. I don't know. It's so hard when you're in it and coming from the place where I was even a year ago. I mean, oh my gosh, just so consumed by it. And really, I don't think I would have been able to write the book that I just wrote without having more time to do the things that I need to do in this world, as opposed to focusing on things that don't matter, aka calorie counting and tracking and even macros. Like you can do keto without counting. I'm doing it. It's awesome. You can totally do it.
Yeah. So. And that's something that people definitely need to understand, that sure, maybe in the beginning to like actually understand how it feels to get into ketosis and, you know, getting over that keto flu and seeing like what your carbohydrate tolerance is.
There's actually a really, I don't know if I can find it in my book real quick because I have it like right here beside me, but there's another way that I have developed more of a counting things without counting things is through portion plates. So this is something that I shared in my FatFueled program, like a lot more in depth. It's just like looking at your plate and kind of getting a feeling for, by looking at your plate, what your macros are. So on keto, you want like a bunch of fat. I imagine like spoons spreading across the plate and kind of looking at, okay, well, if all these pieces of fat were like in a spoon, they want to spread across the plate to about 80% of the plate.
Yeah.
And so I look at my carbohydrates and that maybe takes out about 10% of the plate. So that leaves me with another 10% for protein. So you can kind of play around with it like that if you're really coming from a disordered relationship with food. And the thought of going keto and having to track is just totally overwhelming. But you're right. When you first get going, it's super helpful to just like play around with macros and see how it feels. But if you're like me and that's so triggering for you, then you could totally go off your plate and even go off different programs like meal plans or something to kind of get a feel for how other people eat without having to get into like the nitty gritty of the numbers.
Absolutely. And the numbers are definitely where all of us fall into that trap, because it was like we were counting calories for so long, and then we were counting like points or portion controlled containers for a long period of time. And then we go on to counting like carbs and macros and all of that. And macros are huge right now. Like that term is just gigantic. The whole, like, if it fits your macros and everything. And there's so much out there. It truly is just like overwhelming, which is why, again, like why I love your site, because it's so simple. It just breaks things down into like really simply being able to adopt a ketogenic lifestyle.
Yeah. And I mean, I totally appreciate people that have like zero disordered relationship with food. And when I say disordered relationship with food, it doesn't have to mean an eating disorder. Like you could be a chronic dieter for years, or, you know, every time you look in the mirror, you're cutting yourself down, or another big thing that people don't realize is disordered is like when you eat quote unquote too much, and then the next day you work out a whole bunch to try to burn that off. And you like, this is an accepted behavior and something that, you know, when I'm getting my hair done or when I'm around a bunch of women or something specifically, there's all these people talking about like, well, I ate this last night and now I'm going to the gym. And I'm like, dude, this is so messed up.
Exactly.
You know? But there are people that don't have, like, that are just eat when they're hungry and they follow different eating styles and they're totally good. And that's why in my book, The Keto Diet, the new one, I do include numbers. And the first chapter before the numbers chapter is like, counting is so silly and don't do it. And then the next chapter is like, if you want to count, here are the numbers, but like maybe just skip over this chapter, because so many people are different. And I think you know, just having a conversation around how numbers are the worst thing isn't fair to the people that they totally geek out on it and they don't let it consume them. And that's really cool. I am not one of those people.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I obsess over it. So yeah.
And I think like, right, exactly. Like maybe if what do you use to measure ketosis? Like for yourself to measure?
I personally don't test anymore. The first year and a half, I tested via blood. At the time, the ketonics breath thing wasn't very good. And so you'd blow into it 1 second and then the next second it would be totally different. But I have a lot of clients or previous clients, because I don't take clients anymore, but a lot of previous clients that have said the new ketonics for breath is awesome and it tracks it really well. So the blood ketone meter, it can get really expensive. Like I think I calculated out for how much I was using it was 350 Canadian dollars a month. And
oh my God.
Yeah. Because I was testing all the time, like after dinner, like what does that do? And you know, it was really helpful because now I know like what foods are going to boost up my ketones and what aren't. But I think again, like number conversation is like, just because you don't register an exorbitant amount of ketones, like let's say you're like, oh yeah, 3.0 millimoles per liter, that's where I want to be. Even if you're like 1.4, I don't really see like a major difference with that. And it's really about, is your body fat adapted? That is the biggest thing. And once you're fat adapted, I mean, I can eat carbs, like quite a large amount of carbs in the evening. And I'm right back into ketosis the next morning. Like my body is just like, get rid of those carbs. Let's get back to fat burning. So although ketones are important for some people, I know when I'm in ketosis, I know when I've had too many carbs, I know what that feeling is. But if anyone is first starting off and they want to test, I really like blood, but it can get really expensive. And I'd rather spend that on like $350 a month. That's like a new car, or like an awesome date with my husband once a month.
Like, you know, some things from like Butcher Box and like all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Like food.
Way more things as opposed to knowing your numbers. But if you are the type of person who likes to know, the breath ketonic meter might be good. I don't promote the urine strips because urine, like your ketones will dump into your urine if your body's not using the ketones. So as soon as your body becomes efficient at that, it will go away and you will get frustrated thinking you're not in ketosis when actually you are. So I would just avoid them. Like just don't even do it. Just don't do it. I actually had a doctor recently, it was a new doctor, and I said that I shouldn't have done it. I don't know why I always tell doctors I'm ketogenic, but she's like, oh my gosh, we need to test your urine and like pee into this cup and blah, blah, blah. She came back and she's like, you're not in ketosis. You didn't register on the urine strips. I'm like, perfect. Let's end this conversation right now.
Right. So I'm not, I know I have clients that will like, they'll use the urine strips because whatever. And it'll turn like, they'll be like, it's dark purple. I'm like, you're dehydrated. Like, congratulations, but like you need to drink some water.
Speaking of which, oh my gosh.
On the times that you are able to eat a lot of carbs or whatever at night, where are your carb sources coming from? Like, what are your favorite sources?
So I, with the whole struggle in Mexico, and I was like, where is my life going and what am I doing? My strategy that I developed was carb ups, and initially introducing carbs for me, having never really given myself permission to eat ever, ended up being like these all out binge fests of like gluten-free, because I'm gluten-free, so I can't do non-gluten, but like gluten-free pizza and cupcakes and donuts, and like I just went crazy every carb up. But that lasted probably like a month until I felt like absolute hot garbage. And you know, I think that I needed that as well. I needed to go through that process of just like giving myself full permission, eating all the things, and then realizing, wait a minute, this actually doesn't make me feel good. So now my carb ups, I'm really in love with green plantains right now. I can't get enough of them in my body. But like last month it was like the white sweet potatoes. Potatoes seem to do pretty good in my body. Apples and berries, that's about it for like fruit. And I used to play around with white rice with my carb ups, and that can be good for the resistant starch, but I get these major like sores on my scalp. It just shows inflammation. Like, oh my gosh, my body gets so inflamed by grains. So I personally don't do the white rice, but I do the resistant starch with the potato, and that works out pretty good. So to answer your question, it's mostly just paleo carbs. If I'm out with my sister, we're doing something like, one time it was cane sugar sweetened marshmallows. So like, you know, it just, the carb up allows me to like also live my life, because to ask people to be ketogenic for the rest of their life, like, no, it's just not practical. You just can't. And setting yourself up for that, unless you have cancer or some medical situation where you need to be ketogenic, like this is a life or death sort of thing, 100%, you got to figure out a way to eat ketogenic all the time. But we're just wanting to live a healthful life and use fats to fuel us, and we're fat adapted, and now we want to play around with some carbs to upregulate our leptin and reduce our ghrelin and kind of manage those two, the hunger hormone and the satiation hormone. If we want to have better sleeps, if we want to regulate our hormones, if our thyroid is out, and we want to support that, carb ups can be a great way to do that. And also allow you to like go out, and if you're watching Beauty and the Beast for the 5th time, because that is a real thing for me, you can get popcorn if you want, right? So just, and it's not about overdoing it. And I think for me, that time when I came back, it was probably like November of, I guess it would be 2014. I was like, I'm just going to allow myself to have the carbs I want in the evening and just see what happens. There was an all out free for all when it came to the carb ups. But that was the first time in my entire life where I gave myself permission to eat. And although there was the whole like, only have carbs in the evening, for me, that was about balancing. Like, I know that carbohydrates in the morning don't make me feel very good. You know? And so it's a balancing of what makes your body feel good, like what actually makes you feel good, not what other people are telling you to make you feel or anything like that.
Exactly.
Like what makes you feel good. And if you don't know, start small. Like, if you really enjoy eating, start there. Does that thing that you enjoy eating make you feel good the next day? Awesome. You should eat more of that thing. Like last month, I didn't really like green plantains. I was like, yeah, cool. But when I do have carb ups, I'm like, give me some green plantains. That's really great. And I get asked a lot of, like, how do you know it's time to have a carb up on ketosis? Like, how do you know? You'll feel really good the next day after a carb up, especially your first one. You'll be like, whoa, I have so much energy and things are really good and I had a great sleep. When you feel like feeling that way again, have another carb up. Like when you just feel a little bit like flat. Or whatever that, for me, it's just flat. Like I just feel like I'm lacking something, then I just have a carb up and the next day I feel fine. So it's, listening to your body is hard, but that to me was like my first step toward really accepting that your body knows what's up. Like your body wants to be healthy. It wants to be happy. It wants to be balanced. It wants to, you know, go to the bathroom every day. It wants to, like, do all these things. So if we just get out of the way, your body will figure it out. You just need to listen. And right now we're not listening.
Exactly. No, we're listening to everybody else. Except for ourselves. Absolutely. And I love that how you put that. Like, do you have to be in ketosis for the rest of your life? No, unless you have a medical reason to be. Because I think that people think that, well, if I go keto for a period of time and then I come off, I'm going to gain all this weight. I'm going to feel really bad. And I'm going to have to do this, commit to doing this forever. And it's like, no.
That's all or nothing. It's that all or nothing mentality of you don't trust your body. And if you're doing it, great. And if you're not, well, screw the diet. I'll just start on Monday. Like that whole mentality. It doesn't need to be like that. Like I eat ketogenic most of the time. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. When I feel like more fat, like I just eat all the fats. But then there's a day where, you know, maybe it's about 5 days before my period. This girl's eating carbs. Like I'm making the carbs for the dinners and I'm going to eat all of them, you know? And then your body becomes so fat adapted, like we were talking about, where you eat the carbs in the evening. And as long as you don't like totally crazily overdo it, like say, oops, okay, I ate 250 grams of carbs. That was way too much. It may take your body like a day to get back into ketosis, but it's not like it forgets fat burning. It's just burning off the carbs to then go back into ketosis.
Exactly.
So, like, don't worry about, oh my gosh, I've been eating ketogenic for 2 months and I had some birthday cake and now my life is over. No. Your body knows how to burn fat. Just go back to eating ketogenic and you'll be back to burning fat like in a day.
Right. And to that point, that like the day that you might go to a birthday party and eat some birthday cake, that does not mean that you have to now fast for 24 or 48 hours afterwards.
Yeah, if you're hungry the next day, then your body's telling you need to eat. And what a great opportunity to have like a rocket fuel latte or something.
Absolutely.
Just like
absolutely.
Get and back to feeling good.
And my little one's crying now. She just came in and bumped her cheek on the table.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. So now she'll be like our co-host here.
Hey.
I also like that you were saying like the forced fasting. Like you're like, no, I tell people all the time, like, eat when you're hungry. Eat when you're hungry.
Yeah, totally. You really have to, because I mean, for men it's a little bit different, but for women, when we are, I feel so bad.
No, she's fine. She bumped her chin.
Oh, hi. Oh, your hair is so beautiful. I love her color.
It's fun. She's got like this hair color, and then my other one has like blonde. Oh, you want to come over here? Come on over.
Yeah.
Let's all get in here. This is my life. Oh, why are you coming?
Papa's stepping on my foot.
Okay. Adorbs.
Yeah. On life.
So true.
Papa stepped on her foot. She hit her cheek on the table. Keep calm and keto.
Carry on. Let's talk about fasting.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, good. Thank you. Yes. I ate an egg, so can I have a cookie?
Mommy, take the bread, and then you take the bread.
Well, hey, you're ovulating now, so this is what's going to happen. Yeah, and I mean, and people always ask me about like my kids and like if they eat keto all the time. Like, we keep mostly, healthy and keto foods in the house, but they're kids. So when they go to birthday parties, they're absolutely eating cake and they're having ice cream and they're going to have pizza and they're going to have whatever else. Because I feel like when you get them into that deprivation mode or something like that, that's when they start having like the weird relationships with food and the whole like, should I pick something that's healthy or what's not healthy or, Sorry.
Totally. That was my lifestyle as a child. Like, my parents really tried and surrounded us with healthy food, but there were so many rules around food that when I would go out with friends or something, I would down anything I could, like eat as many things as I could to get as much in my body as possible. And I remember actually I was volunteering and they had extra popcorn from the popcorn machine and they said, does anyone want this? And I said, yeah, me, I want it. And they put it in a big garbage bag, like a black garbage bag for me. And I hid it under my bed and I ate that popcorn like for a solid week. And I was so sick, but I just kept eating it because it creates this negative behavior. And that is the same thing we are doing with dieting. When we're coming at it from this restrictive mentality, we're not listening to our body, we're forcing ourselves, whether it be fasting, not eating enough, things we don't enjoy eating. There comes a point, a breaking point, and if you've been chronically dieting for a long time, your breaking point is like, it might start off by a month and then go down to a couple of weeks, to the point where you might even be able to like go 3 hours on your new diet before you completely bust out, like you just eat food.
Exactly.
Like it gets shorter and shorter. And so we need to look at it a different way. And the title of my book has the word diet in it, in fact, twice. And it's really, I think diet has a really bad reputation. Yeah. At this point, it's like a diet culture and all the things. I've really tried with what I put together to kind of say like, fat feels good in my body. It's called the keto diet. But I also have 5 different ways of approaching this to kind of suit your needs and see what your body feels like. And, at the end of the day, you may try this for a month and absolutely hate it. And that is totally okay. Like, I'm not the type of person to be like, just try harder and my way or the highway. Not at all. Like, it may really resonate with being vegan. I don't know. It wasn't for me, but I know it's for some people.
Exactly.
So you just got to like follow what your body's telling you and start to listen. Start really, really small by just, opening up the fridge, see what you feel like, or waking up in the morning and asking yourself, what do I see myself eating for breakfast? And just, starting that way, and then just starting with, one meal where you're not tracking, and just see how that feels, and slowly moving up. And you can even write down the foods that you're eating, but not tracking it in a way that feels restrictive. Like maybe I had brisket with tallow, which is what I had right before this.
Yeah.
And how did that make me feel? I had a lot of, energy for our call, and okay, so that felt good. But next time maybe I add broccoli and I get bloated. Okay, well, maybe broccoli doesn't feel so good in my body, or I need to pair it with something else, or just to kind of get to know your body by writing it down, but not tracking it to tell you what to eat.
Exactly. Oh yeah. And and it's such a great point that you made, because you do sometimes uncover hidden food sensitivities that you didn't know you had. Well, like when I eat cheese, I feel this way, even though I really like the way cheese tastes, it makes me feel really crappy.
Yeah. And then you can make a choice.
Yeah, exactly.
I know cheese makes me feel crappy, but I like the taste.
Yeah.
So I'm going to eat it and know that I'm not going to feel so good the next day. And that's totally okay. But you have a choice. You're making a choice. You're not having a program dictate something to you.
Exactly.
And that's what I have a problem with.
The choice. Do you, boo. Just do you.
Yeah. Amen.
I love the tips that you gave for especially for people that were just starting out and getting to know their bodies. What about the person that has been following a ketogenic lifestyle for a few months? Maybe they've hit a plateau and they're like, this isn't working for me. Like, what would you tell?
Do a carb up.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a couple of things. I'm assuming that the person following the ketogenic diet is probably a woman.
Mm-hmm.
She's probably still in age of the fertility age, right? Because menopausal or premenopausal women can get away with more fasting. They don't necessarily have to do carb ups. But if you're in that reproductive age, I would highly recommend just trying a carb up. Start off with, if you're tracking, start off with maybe 1 gram of carb for every pound that you weigh. So if you weigh 150 pounds, you would have 150 grams of carbs. If that scares you, or you're insulin resistant or things like that, I would start off with about half that. So if you're 150 pounds, you would eat 75 grams of carbs for your carb up. And you would just take away some of the fat for your meal and put in the carb up. So you're not adding carbs and all the fat that you were eating for dinner. You're kind of taking out the fat, or a lot of it anyways. I usually do about 1, maybe 2 teaspoons of fat in my meal when I'm doing a carb up. So if it's a sweet potato, I put coconut oil on the sweet potato, and then maybe do a leaner meat, like a chicken thigh, which I consider lean compared to a lot of the other fats that I eat and meats. And kind of try that out. Maybe try it once a week for 3 weeks and see what happens. What should happen is that the next day you'll wake up, you'll feel probably a little bit more puffy, because carbohydrates, for every 1 gram of carbohydrates, you hold about 4 grams of water.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to take your body a little while to get rid of that water. But when it does, you should be lower in weight than when you started the carb up the day before.
Yeah.
But really, let's talk about weight plateaus and how BS they are, because it's so true. For years upon years upon years, I had this number in my head of where my body needed to be, and period. End of story. That's what I need to be. And if I'm not that number, regardless if I have muscle or not, or whatever, it needs to be that number. And if I'm not that number, I'm not worthy. People won't love me. I can't be taken seriously as a nutritionist. And it's a load of BS. It doesn't work for my body personally. And I actually had to gain weight back in order to get my period back. And it took me a long time to be okay with that. Because when you're in this line of work as a nutritionist or somebody that shares health information, there's this undertone of, if you don't have a 6-pack, or if you have a little belly or whatever, that you can't, nobody will take you seriously.
Yeah. Or that diet doesn't work, because you still have
Or if you're over 10% body fat, then you're not worthy of sharing information. And I know that my body does really good with my period, the menstruation and everything, at a certain body fat percentage.
Yep.
And that's just, when I go under that, I started going to the gym again because I really love lifting.
Yeah.
And I went back about now 2 months ago, and we did it for about 3 weeks. I didn't get my period.
Wow.
Yeah, I missed it. It just was gone. I got half a day of a spot, and that was it. And so that's my body being like, yo, Leanne, not ready for this, or not ready for the movement. So, you know, I leaned out just a tint, like just my pants fit just a little bit differently. And my body's like, nope. So it's so interesting. And we're all so different. And to put our eyes on the prize of like the specific body type. And I'm sure a lot of us have that same specific body type in our head, and it changes over the years of like, first it was like, you know, pretty stick thin, and then it was muscly, and who knows what it'll be next. And no offense to the people that naturally look like that. That is awesome. Like, good on you. It's awesome. Just like it's good on you to look different. Like, we all look different. Like,
exactly.
Hey, imagine if we all looked the same. How boring.
That would be terrible. That would be terrible.
I know. Except our hair, because our hair is the same, and that
obviously.
Is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I love that.
Yeah.
Where can we find you? Because we need to follow you forever and ever.
Yeah. So you can go to my website, healthfulpursuit.com. I also have a website dedicated to the book, which is ketodietbook.com. And that just has more information and internal pages. I'll pull it up. It's like 4 pounds. And this is my thumb on the spine. So you can just see like how thick this baby is. And so you can find me on those websites, and then on Instagram as Healthful Pursuit. I also have a YouTube channel, Healthful Pursuit. You can even find it by searching the Keto Diet. So those are sort of all the places, or some of the places. I know I'm in a lot more places. Like, oh, I have a podcast.
That's like really awesome.
I always forget the podcast, and that's like the most work. I don't know, but all the places. Just search for Leanne Vogel, and you'll find me. And my book will be coming out very, very soon. And Costco in the U.S., in a lot of places, or any of your bookstores, or on Amazon or Barnes and Noble, or anywhere you buy books. So just look for the big, it's kind of hard to not see, like it's orange and there's things. So yeah. Yeah.
So if you guys don't have a Costco membership, this has to be like motivation to go get one, because not only can you get the Keto Diet by Leanne, but you can also buy tons and tons of good, like grass-fed meats and butters. And
speaking of which, I actually have a keto Costco shopping guide on my website. If you go to, it's healthfulpursuit.com/Costco. And it's just a free download, and I can even give you the links. You can share it with your people.
Yes,
but yeah, you just click there, enter your details, and you get the little list, and it goes through all the keto things that you can get at Costco.
Oh my God. Okay. Like, so you guys have no excuse. You just don't.
Yeah.
So you got to get from Costco, and you just at least give it a try is what we're saying. You know, like it doesn't have to be crazy or anything. Just see if you feel happy, if your mood feels improved, if your hormones become regulated. I mean, amazing. I always say this, but I feel like people are attracted to keto for the weight loss and the weight loss benefits, but they stay for the way that it makes them feel and like the health benefits overall. Which is amazing.
I see that all the time. Like that's how I started. And I'm like not even caring about my weight anymore. And it's stable. Like it's stable. My body is not changing for the first time ever. Like it's just, I've been wearing the same pants now for about a year and nothing changes. And that's that's also pretty nice on my bank account. The fact that I have clothes.
Yeah. And you're eating foods that like taste good, that you enjoy, that give you fuel. And you're not, just eating like steamed fish and asparagus for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And like, oh my God. Misery.
Never again. Like seriously.
Right, exactly.
I never say never, but I'm pretty sure that will never, like I'm like 99.9% sure I will never eat that way again.
Yeah, I completely agree. Oh my God. Well, thank you so much. This has been amazing. I know everyone has gotten a ton out of this. Everyone needs to follow this woman because she's amazing. Make sure that you get the Keto Diet because I know it's an incredible book. I'm going to go download my Costco menu now because I get home tomorrow and can't wait to go shopping.
Load up.
I'm so excited. Thank you, Leanne, so much. Oh, we love you.
Thanks, Kate. Thanks for having me.
Bye, you guys.